Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 70. This episode, we are doing something a little bit different, and I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. I compiled a compilation of past Ordinary to Badass episodes related to gratitude. Right now, Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and I feel like gratitude is so stinking important. So these are little clips, little takeaways from people throughout the episodes of Ordinary to Badass, all related to gratitude. So take a listen. I know that you're going to love it. But first, have you checked out the Ordinary to Badass secret episode yet? It's a secret podcast episode just for you, the Ordinary to Badass podcast listeners. So OTBers, head on over to ordinarytobadass.com/podcast if you want to check out the secret episode. All right, now let's get to the gratitude. First off, you'll hear from Clem Lafreitas. She is from episode number 29 of the Ordinary to Badass podcast. If you like what she has to say, make sure to go back and give episode number 29 a listen.
Yeah. And then now, in my business, I realized that people were coming to me for the purpose of changing their body and changing their physique. And then I tried to explain earlier on, like, this is a mindset thing. This is a mind game. Like, if you can't condition the mind, if you can't strengthen the mind like you're trying to work on your body, it's gonna fizzle. And so I made that realization that there is a connection, and I changed our tagline to we're a mind and physique transformation boutique. And what I noticed that people were drawn to us because of first, oh wow, they're all losing weight, or oh wow, they're all changing their bodies and they look so drastically different. They're drawn in for that, and then they realize, holy crap, I can't sustain a lot of the challenges that come with transformation unless I have a strong mindset. And I have to work on those two bodies. While I'm working on my physical body, I really do need to be also working on my spiritual mind and emotional body at the same time.
Yes.
Then, like right now, we're having a special at our gym, a challenge called the Mindset Movement Momentum Challenge for March. And because usually this time of the year, in the middle of February, end of February, people who had these high hopes, bright-eyed excitement in the beginning of January start to fizzle down at the end of February. And it's like, you didn't even make it 8 weeks yet. And it's because you're so focused on strengthening, changing, improving the physical body, the outward appearance, that we neglect, doing gratitude every morning, praying, doing our affirmations. We neglect reading the books that create an expanded mind. And then we wonder why we fizzle, because the body is only going to be as strong and as healthy as your mind is.
Next, you'll hear from Catherine Switzer. Catherine is totally badass, and she was the first woman to enter and run the Boston Marathon one of my favorite episodes, episode number 34. And I'm going to give you two little clips here. This first part blows me away, who she says she's grateful for or grateful to. It just shows her amazing character. So take a listen.
I just want to really always emphasize that even in those very early days, the guys who ran, the guys I trained with, the guys who were surrounding me were really wonderful guys. And they have, in fact, helped women's running always for all those years. It was only officials and spectators, many of whom were women, by the way, some spectators, some women who were really, really tough on me. But yes, it was a wonderful photograph. The angry official it served women's rights extremely well by attacking me because he did it in front of the press truck. And that photo has gone around the world and changed so much of women's sports. We owe him a great big debt of gratitude. And I often say some of the worst things in your life can become the best things. And that's one of them.
Oh my gosh. Just pure gold. I loved it. And now for Catherine's second tip about gratitude. Sometimes you find it in unexpected places.
I'll tell you what, alone or with girlfriends or friends, guys too. I mean, because most of my running in my life had been done with guys until very recently. You share the secrets of your soul. I always joked, I said, you're never going to need a psychiatrist if you have a running buddy. You just talk and talk and talk. You tell them everything. And it never goes beyond that. Never goes beyond the road. But when you're also out running by yourself and I still run marathons and of course, now that I'm older, it takes me longer to run them. Therefore, I have to train longer. So sometimes I'm out for even 4-hour, 5-hour runs. And when I'm out that long alone in the woods or on a rail trail someplace, the creativity, the ideas, the stress bust, the praying, the meditation, the gratitude, all of those things become a part of my run. And it is so essential to my well-being. Right now, again, I'm going to bring this up. We're having this epidemic and there's going to be this like lockdown in places. And honestly, this is in a way one of the worst things that could happen. If people could just get out, get fresh air and sunshine alone, they don't have to be surrounded by people and just have time to break that stress. It's one of the healthiest things we can do for ourselves.
Next up, you'll hear from Deb Meyer. Deb was on episode number 44 of the Ordinary to Badass podcast, and seriously, she's one of the happiest people I know. So I think there's something to what she has to say.
The negativity is definitely something I think us as women especially face. It's we can be our own worst critics so many times, but a lot of what I do to get out of that is going back to the gratitude. Like, what in my life is going well? What things are happening right now that are shaping me in a positive way, even if this other stuff isn't going so great. And having that focus. I mean, every morning I wake up and I just say, God, please bless today. Like, thank you for this day. Please bless it. And I usually am pretty happy and smiley most days because I start that day right with that more abundance mindset.
Next, you'll hear from Jenny Kotler. And she was on episode number 30 of the podcast. And she talks about hiking Mount Whitney. She hiked it 3 times. And the second time, she had to stop. She wasn't able to finish it. Well, the first time she couldn't finish it, goes back a second time thinking she's good, wasn't able to finish it. So she talks a little bit about here how going into the third hike and what she had to do.
So the first time I didn't make it, that was the first hiking experience where I turned around. The second time I ended up turning around, it's almost the same spot as the first time. But I was, so I drove up, so I live on the Central Coast in California, and I drove up to Mount Whitney, slept at Portal, which is around 7,000 or 8,000 feet, slept in my car for 2 hours, and then I was solo. I don't even know how I convinced myself of this one. I was solo. I was originally planning to start around 5 a.m., like at daylight, and get some sleep. I couldn't sleep all night. I was just so excited. And then I started seeing all these headlamps, started hiking, and I was like, 1 a.m, was like, let's start hiking by Like, I don't even know how I, like, just, like, that goes back to just doing it. Don't overthink it. If I had sat there and be like, well, I'm by myself and it's dark, I don't know, I shouldn't go. I just, like, got up, got dressed, and started hiking. And right before I got on the trail, I saw my first bear, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And then I just started hiking, one foot in front of the other. And I had spent months training prior to that, and saw sunrise was the most amazing experience. I had just hit right above the tree line. And so, like, you know, the trees are below, the granite peaks are around you, and the sun, and it's kind of like a V, and it opens up to the valley below, and the sun's rising in the east, and Mount Whitney, the trail that you start on, faces the east. So the granite peaks are just glowing pink in the sunrise after hours of hiking in the dark by yourself. I mean, I met groups of people and, like, chatted with other solo hikers or other groups, so it wasn't too bad. But it was just an amazing experience. Like, that is still that was taken, like, on an iPhone picture, and it is still my favorite picture. Like, I have it, like, across from my bed. Like, that is the picture I want to wake up to every morning, because that is, like, the golden moment of, like, that experience. But I kept going, but as I got up to 12,000 feet, and I started getting really, really dizzy, and I kept drinking water, thinking, well, I'm just dizzy, I'm just dehydrated. And then as I kept going higher up, I think I got somewhere between, I got probably around 12,500 feet. And then I was just really dizzy, and I was like, you know what, this does not feel right, that I just keep getting dizzier. And I was still probably around 3 to 4 miles away from the summit. And then I still have to come back down. And I was day hiking, I wasn't backpacking. So that's 22 miles of day hiking. I didn't have anywhere to, like, pitch a tent, to stop, to sleep, and then come back and do it the next day. Like, I had to make it down to my car. So I was just like, you know what, this doesn't feel right. Like, I just trusted my gut. And it was hard turning around, knowing that, like, I had put that much effort into training, and, like, I was there and, like, doing it, and I'm so close, like, you could taste it.
Yeah.
But just, you have to do, you know, safety comes first. And I knew that if I kept going, like, God knows, like, I could have fallen off the mountain, like, one wrong step and you fall. Especially the last 2 miles get pretty sketchy. So I just trusted my gut, and I just turned around and ended up hiking back down to the car. I met some other solo hiker who was backpacking, but he was heading down, and so we chatted the whole way down. So it was a pleasant hike, and overall it was an amazing experience between the bear and sunrise. And it wasn't my first solo hike, because I had done more local solo hikes before, but to that extent, like, to that badass level where I'm, like, 1 a.m, like, getting up, hiking by myself, like, wow.
Yeah.
So, like, overall it was still an amazing experience. And then the third time, it's just, I'm so, like, I need to make this summit. Like, I just wanted to do it. So the following year I applied for the lottery. I didn't get the lottery, and I don't give up. I believe, you know, some people, like, there's a whole permit process to get a lot of these bigger and harder hikes, but some people, like, there's usually a lottery system or something like that. Most people, like, they don't win the lottery, they give up for the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing a hike that year, I will find a way to get that permit. Doesn't matter how I'm doing it, I'm getting that permit.
I love that.
So didn't win the lottery, so I decided to do the long way and do 72 miles from from west to east to hike it, and then finish in the east, and left my car in the east. And figured that solves my altitude sickness problem, because that's, you know, 7 days on the trail. I average between, like, you know, 8 to 12 miles a day. Well, more like 10, but, you know, some days are 8, some days are 12. With a backpacking bag on, because that just adds extra weight, versus a day pack, you could go a little bit further, because it's, you know, maybe 15 pounds, versus my backpacking bag was like 40 pounds. But that's really heavy. But
Right.
I also have, like, tripod and camera and, like, stuff like that, so that adds on the weight. But I was just like, okay, well, it's 7 days. I'm going to acclimate. I'm going to do this. Like, no excuses. I am making it to Whitney. I, like, 1 foot in front of the other. I don't care how heavy my backpack is. I just, like, visualize the end goal.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was hard. It was very far from easy. I got bad blisters on that trail. I mean, it was gorgeous and it was an amazing experience, but, you know, and I cried a lot on that trail. 7 days in the wilderness. Like that was my longest trip by miles and by days. And it was just one foot in front of the other. I visualized the end goal and I'm going for it. Since then, I've learned to more and, stop focusing so much on where you're like that end goal of like the summit or the lake you're going to, and just enjoy the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps a lot with the mental aspect of it. And just really just be grateful and like feeling abundant that you're there. But in that moment, before I kind of really learned how to control more of my mind, it was just one foot in front of the other.
Next, hear from Mary O'Donoghue, who is a media coach and a former Oprah show post-producer. Here, she's talking about a book she wrote, When You Say Thank You, Mean It. And it's all about teaching your kids gratitude. So what was the name of that book? And can you share with us something that most people don't know what it took to accomplish writing that book?
It's called When You Say Thank You, Mean It. And the subtitle is, because the publishers like a long subtitle. So it's When You Say Thank You, Mean It, and 11 Other Lessons for Instilling Lifelong Values in Your Children. It's a month-by-month guide to teaching children values like gratitude, compassion, integrity, commitment, joy, forgiveness. I think the thing that people don't know about it, I would have to say the reason that I did it. Not a lot of people know. A dear friend of mine had died suddenly, and he was a producer. He was exactly my age. This was right before the book was even a thing. And I drove home from his funeral, and I remember saying out loud, because my husband and I driven separately, I said, his name was George, and I said, George, you didn't get enough time to live your dreams. Because I know that he had wanted to do certain things that he didn't try. He pulled back from some of his dreams, and then he was gone, and he was young. And so I said out loud, the next time something comes along in my life, I know with absolute certainty I cannot do, I will do it anyway for you. Those exact words. And I said those in January of 2008. I'll never forget those words because those words changed my life. So I knew someone who had an agent, and she was telling her agent about what I was doing with my kids. Her agent contacted me and said, this is a book. And I was like, this is not a book, and I'm not a writer. She was like, well, write a proposal, and sent me the proposal, other proposals. And I used that and sent back a proposal, which I thought was fantastic. And then she sent back, first I looked at the Word doc and I thought, oh my gosh, she loves it. And then I opened the, final showing markup and saw that there were many, many pages of notes. And it more than doubled in size by the time I rewrote the proposal and sent it back to her. And then she called like 6 months later. I never called once. I was the weirdest client of an agent ever because I was way too busy working for Oprah at the time. I never thought I would write a book or it would get an offer. But she called about 6 months later and said, hey, we have an offer on your book. And I literally looked at the phone and said, who do I know in New York? I was at the Oprah show. I looked at that, and it was my agent with an offer. And my first thought was, I can't write a book. I'm not a writer. And then I had to remember that promise I made to George. And so what a lot of people don't know is I became an author, a best-selling, award-winning author, because of a promise I made to my friend.
That's so good. So you talked a little bit in there about what you did with your kids, and that's what the book was based off of. Can you give me an example?
Sure. So we're in gratitude month right now because we still kind of do it even though they're adults.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, certain parts of it have just stayed habits. When they were like a few years ago, I turned to my son one time and I was talking about Respect for Others Month. And he said, Mom, think for a minute. Do we need to do the exercises, or have we got respect for others down? And I was like, oh my gosh, you do. And he said, see, it works, Mom. But we still do certain things in gratitude month. Like we keep a gratitude board where we just write what we're grateful for, one person per night. I've collected those over the years. So it's so cool to see what the kids have written.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, my daughter wrote, I'm grateful that this will be the year that I will get like a new puppy or a new dog or something, because we already have a dog. And my son wrote next to it, "I'm grateful that my sister can still dream."
So cute.
But the neat part of that story is when we moved from Chicago to Nashville, my daughter was missing her friends in Chicago, and my son said, "It's time we got her that second dog." And he, said, "I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to make it happen." And he convinced me and my husband, who were fine with one dog, to get a second. And so now we have 2 dogs.
Oh.
So her what she was grateful for has come to be, thanks to him.
Next, you'll hear from Ian Murphy of Moxie Bookkeeping from episode number 19 of the podcast.
Yes. I think for me, it's about finding a small win. Because again, you're a runner, yeah?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
if I want to be a runner and I think I'm going to do it, and I try to go out and run a mile, of course I'm not going to succeed. And not only am I not going to succeed, I'm going to hurt myself. And so if I'm giving my subconscious the evidence of, see, I told you can't do anything, you always fail, you're never going to be any good at this stuff, then that is so detrimental on so many levels. But if I say, I am going to jog in place in my own living room for 2 minutes or 1 minute, then I can go like, that wasn't so bad. I could have done a little more. Great. Tomorrow, I'll do a little more. And just trying to keep consistent on that. That I think, whatever it is, just finding that next baby step, that next right action that is achievable, that maybe doesn't even feel that satisfying because it was so easy, but was still moving you in the right direction. And then for sure for me, it's 100% about gratitude. 100%. I have to wake up every morning, and if I don't start my day just by running through in my head on a good day or on a bad day, making myself write it out, 5 to 25 things that I am truly grateful for, I'll be kind of a jerk for the rest of the day without even realizing it. And it just really gets my head in the right place.
Next, you'll hear from my friend Lex Lakovsky. He was on episode number 63 of the podcast and was the first male that was on the podcast. Super fun to have him on the show. He wrote a book called Passport Forward, and he lived in a Buddhist monastery. So you won't want to miss what Lex has to say.
Absolutely. Oh, okay. So this is you said gratitude. And I was talking about the phone analogy. The way that most people can get out of their own way is to serve. So when I'm saying woe is me, or everything's coming at me, or I've lost this, or I'm scared about that, the most important thing that I have learned is be nice to somebody. Go out of your way to be nice to somebody. If you're at a drive-through, give the drive-through person an extra, just I don't get drive-through food, but give them it when I go to the airport. I used to before, when I used to get on planes.
Corona,
I would get off the plane, and I was so happy because I had been someplace, and the lady's like, I'm going through and I'm paying $18 for my car parking, and I would give her a $5 bill, and I said, this is for you. She's like, what's this for? I said, it's for you. And it's like those kind of things take it away from woe is me to being nice. So pick up the phone or reach out to somebody that needs help, and put your selfish, mediocre BS aside for a few minutes and serve somebody. And by doing that, you realize that A, you're connected, B, you've made someone's day, possibly you've been nice to somebody, and that alone will shift will shift your energy. So, you asked the couple of steps people can take, and that's one of it, is if you're kind of in a funk or you're kind of stuck, you're making it too much about yourself. You're being selfish, and you're being, you're focusing all your energy on yourself. Push it out and be really nice to somebody, show up, serve in any way that makes sense for you, financially, time-wise, love-wise, and stop being so selfish with your energy. So gratitude, be grateful that you have other people that you can serve, and it'll change the way that that you show up.
Okay, next you're going to hear from Jocelyn Manzanares from Musically Minded, episode number 62, go back and listen if you like what Jocelyn has to say.
Absolutely. So I have this morning routine that I go through, and no, don't get me wrong. I don't do it every morning, but I've got a list, literally a list. Like I kind of think of it as my manager, because I like to think creative. I like to go all over the place with my thoughts, and I need something to center me. And so I have a list of the things that I do. I get up, I drink coffee, I read something inspirational, and then I write down the things that I'm grateful for. Or, I might even say, like, what's awesome today? What's awesome right now? And then I go through, all the things that I want to remind myself about. Some, affirmations, what's important to me, what I need to make my day run well. What are some of those cornerstone pieces? I need to make sure I exercise because I know that makes me feel good. I know I need to eat. I know I need what's for dinner. So, just doing all of those things along with that gratitude piece, it puts me in a place to begin my day ready to go, ready to take it all on, because I'm in a good spot. I'm ready. But I've noticed on the days where I don't go through all that, and, sometimes if I'll wake up in the morning and I slept in and boom, it's right off. Like, kids need to eat, if there were school, I have to get out the door, and I notice my day is just a whirlwind, and I'm not in control of my day. But when I set the tone at the beginning, going through what I'm grateful for, really focusing on what's important, I feel in control of my day.
Okay, now let's go way back to episode number 6 with Kate Dillon, the girl who sells race car parts, and hear what she has to say about gratitude.
Now, I think the same thing happened with, back to this mentor question, is I've always been inquisitive. I've always been curious. I've always wanted to know more. And I also think that probably my biggest superpower out of everything is my gratitude. And it's not fake. It is absolutely real. I mean, one of my first jobs, I was a traveling salesman. I traveled all over the country. I lived in hotels, and the boss, traveled with us, and she was a woman, and we happened to wear the same shoe size. And she loved going shopping. So she'd buy all kinds of, just all kinds of stuff. And then her hand-me-downs were things that, she wore 3 times. And she would give me, shoes or clothes or whatever. And it wasn't until years later, it's not that I was like the favorite, not that I was like her pet or anything. I wasn't a suck up or a brown nose, none of those things. What I learned years later, and I didn't even consider it or think about it for a moment, but someone else told me, do you know why she likes to give you all that stuff? And I said, no, I don't know. Maybe she likes me. She goes, no, it's because you're grateful. Because anytime she gives you something, you are so grateful to have that it makes her feel good in order to, when she gives it to you.
Right.
And that is so huge. And being on the giving end now, there's nothing that is more irritating to me than the lack of gratitude. But I do think that's probably, it's an inherent quality that I have, but it can be cultivated as well. But it's an inherent quality I have. And I think that's why people have wanted to work with me, because I am grateful for their attention. I'm grateful for their knowledge. I'm grateful that they would share with me. I'm grateful for their time. I mean, every bit of that. And I don't think that other people demonstrate that as much. So if you're looking for a mentor, start with being interested and being grateful.
And now for the second part of Kate's interview that I wanted you to hear about gratitude.
Okay. My mindset is I am positive. 2 things that I rely on are gratitude and Google.
The 2 G's.
The 2 G's. In fact, it's even a Post-it note right here. I've been talking about doing a video on it. So gratitude and Google. I like to say that you're only a Google search away. I mean, I can't even tell you. I think people do think that at some point you should just know all the answers, or they think it for themselves. Like, hey, if I don't know all the answers, I'm not good enough. I honestly cannot tell you how many Google searches I do in a day. It's a lot.
So do you have any tips or tricks how someone else can improve their mindset?
since we talked so much about gratitude, I don't necessarily have a gratitude journal, but I have done it in the past. Just because I'm positive doesn't mean I don't get down sometimes, because I do. I can have so many ideas and I get overwhelmed, or I see the level of detail that's involved with a task that I'm taking on, and I can get overwhelmed. Or you can get where it rains every day for a week, or we all have down times, and that just happens. But every time something like that happens, that's when I do get out my journal and I write down the 5 things I'm most grateful for. And I will do that every day until I'm feeling 100% again.
Okay, that's it for today. These are the lessons from prior episodes, a compilation of Ordinary to Badass guests who shared what they were grateful for. So, how did you like this episode? If you liked it, I would be so grateful if you headed on over to iTunes and left a review. Left a 5-star review would be cool too. But no, head on over to iTunes, leave a review so that other people just like you can find this podcast. Then, of course, make sure to screenshot your review and send it to me on Instagram at Ordinary to Badass. I want to be able to say thank you for supporting the show. All right, that's all for today. I'm out.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass, and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.